I had a cigarette.
Yeah.
How are you?
Oh, you did?
Is this okay?
Okay. I want an aisle seat. I want an aisle by the seat.
And know you were coming home.
Tony Gomez!
Good evening, everyone. Welcome.
Hello. Hi.
Before we begin, I want to thank you all for coming tonight. There are several things you could be doing right now, so we appreciate you for taking the time. Whether you are a friend coming to support someone, a client coming to review the ideas we have shared, or looking to help us with the growth of our company. Tonight, well, you will hear from 3 speakers. Our first speaker, her name is Robin Sears. She's going to introduce a problem that is happening out there right now, and other problems that we see people facing every day. Then, Wade Skolsky is going to talk to you about the solution that we put together. And not only do we feel it is needed, but vital right now. Our last speaker, his name is Brett Sears. He is going to bring the problem and solution together and talk to you about the opportunities in front of us. So please, help me welcome Robin Sears.
Hello. How's everybody doing? It's like fun holiday cheer, right? I'm so excited today. It's been a big week. Big week for us, and it means so much to be able to get to spend tonight with all of you, to get to share with our community of friends and family and team members and new friends and new faces and old friends and old faces. And tonight, Tony briefly touched on the fact that a group of us are in here, and you've been invited tonight because a group of folks in here are really dedicated to solving what we see as really one of the most significant problems facing our nation. And it's one of those problems that, despite the GOP debate last night, both sides can actually agree on that this is actually a problem. There are very few things that everybody politically can agree on, and this is one of those things that people can agree on. And it becomes so important because in this holiday season, it's really about giving back, right? Mm-hmm. It's really about sharing as a community, and it's really about saying, what can we do to make a difference? And so there's a huge problem out there, and a group of us looked at the world and said, if we're going to make a difference, where can we have the greatest impact as a community? And not surprisingly, one way to look at the world is there are people with lots of money at the top that we call the wealthy. Who's interested in being part of that class? Yeah, that group of people. Yeah, right, all of us. Nothing wrong up there. We all are interested in hanging out up there. There's a reason that we'd all like to be up there. Because those folks have a lot of stuff, right? And I'm not just talking houses and cars, because they got a lot of those too. But there's other things that are happening at the top when we take a look. There's education. There's institutionalized access to education. It was really interesting. I was talking with a group of folks today, and we were talking about sort of what does institutionalized access really mean? And really it means that someone's great-grandfather went to college. And then their grandfather modeled that action and went to college. And then their father went to college. And the next generation didn't even question whether or not they were going to go to college. It was just a question of where were they going to go? And in most cases, that's not even a question, right? Because you go to wherever your father went to school, right? In my family, institutionalized education started at my grandmother. That's when we really talk about that there's simply not a question of whether or not you're going to go. You're simply going to go. Opportunities for ownership, financial freedom, financial guidance. There is access to a number of individuals who wake up every single day and say, how can I serve these folks at the top? And we certainly don't blame them for waking up today to figure out how to serve the folks with money, right?
Mhm.
Because who's going to pay for it all? People with the money.
Right. Mhm.
And so these are the folks who have access to both the time and the opportunity to do what they want, when they want, with who they want to do it with. And we call that institutionalized service at the top. And then we looked at the folks at the bottom, the folks we call the not so wealthy. Anyone's welcome to come sit down. We got lots of seats if you want to fill in. And what's really interesting about what's happening down here is that we as a country have agreed on all sides of the table that we are going to take care of the folks who are the least fortunate in this country. And we're going to provide access to free preschool because we know how important early childhood education is. We're going to provide access to free college because we know what a university degree can do. Financial support. Hundreds of thousands of nonprofits, hundreds of thousands of people who wake up every day and say, how can I make an impact by helping people who are the least fortunate in this country? And that's what we call institutionalized support. And when we looked at this group of people, and we thought there are a whole lot of people helping folks at the top because they get paid really well. And there are a whole lot of folks helping people at the bottom because they get to have what they believe is a big impact. And we said, well, what's happening here? So there's a big wide space going on right here. And that space is taken up by what we call Main Street families. And I call it everybody else.
Mhm.
It's literally in this country, a single parent making $40,000 to $50,000 a year, and a dual income family living in Stevenson Ranch making $250,000 a year. Because both of those families are living paycheck to paycheck. One family has a mortgage for a huge house with 10 rooms, and another family has a mortgage for a little house with 2 rooms. One family's paying the car payment for a Honda, and the other family's paying the car payment for a Lexus. And they're in the same boat. So there's a huge group of people who want the same things that folks are getting at the bottom and at the top. Want our kids to go to preschool because we know how important early childhood education is. And I literally have a client, and I've talked about this before. I walked in the door, 4-year-old child, should have been in preschool, sitting and playing with blocks. And I said, wait, what's going on here? And she said, oh, well, we have an amazing preschool down the street. We applied for a grant, and we didn't qualify because we make too much money. But we don't actually make enough money to send her to preschool 5 days a week. And so what do? We compromise. We say, well, that's okay. 3's enough. We'll take care of it at home for 2. Children going to college. I often talk about, right, one of our friend's kids got into UCLA, one of the hardest schools to get into today. I went there. I'd be lucky if I could get in today. He got in, he can't go. Didn't qualify for college grants. Now, he's at a community college down the street, which is awesome, but it's a step before the step that he wanted to take. See, if someone wants to choose to do something else with their life, we're here to fully support that. Our issue is when someone doesn't actually have a choice. Ownership. Interest from financial advisors. How many of us go to work every day and think, I could totally do what my boss does? Right?
Yeah.
I could totally own this business. And I know for a fact, my boss is making a heck of a lot more money than I am. Because it's my boss's job not to actually pay me more than I'm willing to go to work for. And if I'm going to start my own business, I need at least $500,000 in capital. Because I need enough money not only to start my business, but to stay in business for 3 to 5 years. Because it takes the average new company 3 to 5 years to see the first dollar of profit. See, companies don't fail because people don't want to succeed. Companies don't fail because people don't try hard enough. Companies fail because people run out of money before they can make enough money to take care of their families. And access to financial advisors. It's amazing to me. It continually surprises me, and at some point you would think it would stop surprising me, the number of people who actually don't have a plan. They don't have a financial plan. They don't have a plan for how their kids are going to get to college. They don't have a plan for what they're going to do when they retire. The truth is, how can anyone have a plan if no one's talking to you about a plan? The financial advisors that are there are talking to folks who have at least $250,000 in capital to invest. Otherwise, they're not talking to you. And what we know from what we've talked about, if you start saving today, you have the potential to be cash millionaires when you retire. And imagine if nobody ever told you that. See, this is a lack of information that is being provided to Main Street families. And at the end of the day, what do? There's no march on Washington. We all sit here and nod and think, yeah, that's a real problem. And then we leave and we go back to our daily lives. Because what else are we going to do? Because see, everybody here is doing just well enough. We're all fine. We're doing the best we can. We're doing what our parents did. And we're stuck. We're stuck in what I call institutionalized struggle. We've been taught that it's okay to struggle, as opposed to saying it's not okay anymore for me, for my family, for my community, for our future. See, 70 million families make up this space. 70 million families are stuck, and the greatest problem is not that we're stuck, it's that we don't even know it. What we know for sure is we can't fix what we don't know is broken. And not having a plan is what I call a really bad plan. And so why isn't it changing? Why is it okay that this group of folks doesn't have access to the tools and resources of the wealth? Well, how would it change? Who would we turn to? These are the institutions that were developed by our great government in order to support us. How many of us think that the banks are here to get us rich? No? Shocking. And you know, this is my favorite. The lenders are here to get us out of debt? No, because they're called lenders. Why would we expect them to do anything other than lend us money and then take our money? Life insurance companies, corporate America, the very institutions that we're supposed to turn to are not trustworthy for making a difference. And the truth is they're not designed to be, because it's their job to make money off of us. That's correct. Right? Most of you know, many of you know, I've been a lawyer for many, many years, a corporate lawyer, representing these folks, and it is their job to make money off of us. And this is why it is not changing. Which means nobody else is coming to fix it. And we accept that as okay. We accept it as okay that our kid goes to preschool 3 days instead of 4. We accept it as okay that our kid doesn't have the choice whether they're going to go to a 4-year university or first go to community college. We accept it as okay that we don't have a plan and that we'll figure it out someday. And so I got a question. What if there was a way it could be different? What kind of impact would that have? What kind of impact could that have on your new daughter? What kind of impact could that have on your future? What kind of impact could it have if your kids could go to school and not have to worry about coming out with debt? How many more risks could you take? How much more peace of mind could you have if you knew your mom was taken care of? If we were able to take care of our families and take care of our communities and really take care of each other in a way that we've never been able to before. What kind of a Christmas miracle does that come from? You got chills. I know Catherine's got chills. I can see it. That's what tonight is about. See, there's a great problem in this country. There's a great social injustice in this country. And the bottom line is that there are 70 million families, including most of us in here, who don't have access to the tools and resources that we need to take care of ourselves, to take care of our kids, and take care of our communities. But tonight is not about dwelling on the problem. Tonight is about the hope and opportunity that we can actually make a difference, that we actually have a solution. The possibility of a Christmas miracle not being magic and being magical. That's why we're here tonight. And so I thank you for giving us the time, for sharing yourselves tonight with us to be a part of that magic, if only for a few hours. And with that, I'm going to invite the Great Lakes Leslie to come up to start sharing with you some of our solutions. Great.
I'm still dressing like it's summer, so just cut me some slack on that. So Robin talked about that the Main Street families don't have access to basically information, right? And how that it can impact us personally. So you're all going to be impacted personally tonight by lack of information. So I don't buy soda, and so I went to Whole Foods to buy us all soda tonight. And so you're all going to get cola and root beer for your soda. Because apparently Whole Foods does not sell normal soda products. Does anybody else know that but me? I learned that tonight, right? So that's how lack of information can impact us personally. You're all going to experience it in about 20 minutes, okay? So you can blame me and my lack of information on that. But on a serious note, though, is what Robin talks about is the problem is real with regards to the lack of information that the Main Street families have about our money, right? And why is this important? Well, the wealthy obviously think about their money differently than everybody else does. How do we know that's true? Because the results are different, okay? We can look at the results and we can be like, look, they must be doing something different than the rest of us to get the results that they're getting, because there's this illusion that the wealthy are there because they know how to dunk a basketball, or they know how to throw a football, or they can compose music, right? Well, if you combine all those people, all the entertainment, all the sports, they actually comprise less than 1% of all millionaires. There's another illusion out there that everyone inherits their money, right? Actually, 88% of all millionaires are first-generation millionaires. So what that means is that almost 9 out of 10 people started with nothing. So if that's true, and if it's not a super talent, or it's not they inherited it, it must be that they think about their money differently. And we identified 4 principles about how that works, about the money and how they, the wealthy and how they look at their money. Number one, what the wealthy do is lock in advances for a family. Robin talked about a very simple way they do that. The grandmother goes to college, that means that her father goes to college, that means that she goes to college, right? They lock in the idea, the human capital of this, our family, we go to college, we get an education, all right? Another way that they do it is they develop habits. They understand that they can't work themselves out of problems, that a little bit done every single day over a long period of time will get you much greater results than what you try to do over the next 90 days. And when you apply those 2 things consistently over time, they start to have really great results with their money. The other thing that they do with this new clicker that has actual buttons on it that I've never seen before, so I'm amazed that this even works, is they leverage experts. Look, the wealthy don't do their own taxes. They don't manage their own money, all right? What they do is they say, look, I got wealthy running a business or being an owner or whatever it is that I do, and so I'm going to keep doing what I'm good at, but I'm going to hire people to do things that I'm not good at. I'm not going to take the time to do that. And then the wealthy also understand the benefit of strategic partnerships. So I always like to use Oprah as an example. Who knows who Oprah is? Oh, everybody raised their hand this time. Okay, great. So Oprah talked about the way that she became a billionaire was through somewhere between 6 or 7 relationships in her life, right? There's a saying that we have here is that we can all accomplish more together than we can apart. And what that means is that if you want to do something big, you have to be a part of a team, right? If you want to do something big, you have to have people that are supporting you, because nobody can be consistent and perfect all of the time, over time. How many of us have tried to do that, right? Don't we try to do that? The Main Street families, we try to teach our children, we're going to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We try to work as hard as we can, but we get tired, right? And I want to let you in on a little secret. The wealthy get tired too. Okay, but they're just playing a different game than the rest of us. And the game that they're playing is these 4 habits over time. They don't have to be the number 1 person all the time. They can actually lean on their relationships. And that's how the wealthy look at their money. So what does this have to do with everyone here tonight, right? Look, if we all were worth $1 million, we wouldn't have to worry about how we were going to handle our money. Do you know why? Because the minute you put $1 million in a Chase savings account, 10 minutes later, you're getting a call from a Chase wealth manager. Has anyone in here got a call from a Chase wealth manager in the last 6 months? Why? Is your money less important than someone who puts $1 million in an account? Is your family less important than those people? No, but Robin talked about it. Is that the wealth managers, they concentrate on the top because that's where they make the most amount of money, right? So who are we supposed to turn to if we want to have a strategic partnership with someone about our money? Well, one company is Primerica. Primerica's been in business since 1977, and they have $3 billion in cash, all right? I like to call it our rich uncle. And what they do is they have a track record of delivering for the Main Street families that Robin's talking about. Look, we all have different problems and concerns than the people at the top and the people at the bottom, right? So the services that we need have to be geared towards us. It doesn't do me any good to walk into a Chase wealth manager who's used to dealing with $5 million clients and say, hey, how can you help me out? I have different needs than those people. So what Primerica does, it's the only company that fulfills that need for what we call Main Street families. They're our strategic partner. Again, I'm being thwarted by the clicker. And basically is that they've been doing it for a very long time, and they care just about that middle group of people, the Main Street families. So what does that mean for us? You just said, my name's Wade, in case you guys can't read this or forgot it when Robin said it, is that, Wade, you just said that the tools of the wealthy aren't accessible to us because there's a whole group of people helping them for institutionalized support, right, and access. But what about us? Well, we can still use these 4 principles. We just have to use some different tools than the wealthy do, but over time, we'll be able to get the same result. So what's the tool for us to lock in advances for a family? Well, level term insurance. Very simple concept. Everybody woke up today and they said, God, I would love to learn about insurance today. Who felt that way? All right, everybody laughing, they did. They're like, that's a nervous laugh. You're like, oh, it's going to be satisfied. Your need is about to be satisfied, right? So level term insurance is very simple. You pay, you die, they pay. You basically borrow a giant bag of money because if you don't have enough savings in the bank, if something happens to you, if you're gored by javelina, struck by a bus, or struck by lightning, then in that situation, a company will give a giant amount of money for your family to make sure your family's okay, all right? Again, with the clicker. See, someone did not turn off the screen rotation, so every time that I do this, it rotates and the button changes, so that's the problem. Nobody cares about my technical findings. All right, so what else? Develop habits. Okay, well, mutual funds. Look, mutual funds, we can open up a mutual fund for as little as $50 a month. What does that mean? Are we going to get rich on $50 a month? No, right? Yeah. But over time, if I take someone that is 14 years old, right, and they get their first job, and I say, we're going to start to save $50 a month for a mutual fund, all right? Over time, do you think when they start to make more money, they're going to save less money or more money over time? More money, right? If I get them when they're 15 years old. It's the habit that's important, okay? The third issue is leveraging experts. Over time, once we actually have a good chunk of money to be able to invest, right, we want to have access to the same thing that the wealthy do. There's something called a managed account. I like to say that it's the smartest nerds in the world in my basement because we all work really hard for our money. We want someone looking at our money just as much as we have to work for it, right? And after a while, we get access to managed accounts for that. And then finally, it's strategic partnerships. Well, our first partner we already talked about is Primerica. Okay, they provide the services that we need that help us with our money issues. But the second issue is our advocates. And this is something that our team really feels very strongly about. Look, Oprah has a Rolodex to where she can accomplish anything that she wants, right? We don't necessarily have that. But what we do have is each other. There's power in numbers, right? I was watching a movie called Invincible, and it's for sports people here may like it. It was about Vincent Papali, okay? And he was a guy from South Philly. He made the Eagles in like the 1970s. Camacho, that was before you were born, so that was a long time ago when they actually had, cars with gas and no seatbelts. But what happened in there is that there's a scene in the movie. David Camacho's turning 30 tomorrow, so I'll say happy birthday. Right? There's a scene in the movie, right, where one of Vincent Papali's friends is upset because he's about to make the Eagles, right? And the bartender basically says, your friend's upset because he thinks you're leaving us, but our strength is in our numbers. That's where our strength is. And what we're taught, though, is to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and do it alone. And that's not in this room. This team doesn't believe that. This team believes that our strength is in our numbers. And these 4 principles, doing the habits, leveraging experts, and working together as much as we can, helping each other as much as we can actually put us on a path to where we have a 2 to 3 generation game plan to become wealthy. Now, you're not going to get rich overnight doing these things. That's not what it's designed for. What it's designed for is to create an engine for you and for your family so that you can put to bed what's going to happen to us when we retire. What's going to happen to my family if something happens to me? Because you know, if you're thinking about those things every day, if you're thinking about them at night when you're going to sleep, do you have time to work on or think about your dreams? Do you have time to work on or think about what you're going to do for your children? No, because you're obsessed with how am I going to eat when am I going to retire and what's going to happen to me, what's going to happen to my family if something happens to me. So if we can teach this to Main Street families and create an engine where 2 or 3 generations from now, your grandchildren are stone cold wealthy, and people right now can sleep at night and maybe focus a little bit on what they want to do, how great is that? And no one's coming. Robin talks about it. No one's coming to help us because we're all taught to do it alone. But our strength is in our numbers. And so I get excited when I talk about these concepts because I'm a North Dakota farm boy, but I'm the first in my family to go to college. And without these things, I'm just going to repeat that institutionalized struggle again, and I probably would have taught it to my daughter who's coming in April. Yay! So you can see why I get excited about it, but why as a team we get excited about it as well. So thank you for listening to this 2 to 3 generational game plan, but I want to introduce the great Brett Sears who can talk about something else.
We're struggling with the button that says next, so I'm going to see if I can.
But it moves.
So there's a good chance if I have to move the slide to the next one, I'm going to press the next button. So just bear with me. No, I'm excited. It's funny, is I sit in the back of the room, and I don't know if any of you guys have ever sat through a timeshare before, but like what happens is you show up to a hotel, you go on a trip, and they say, hey, come for the free breakfast, and you can go do these things, and then you just have to sit through this little presentation. And like everyone saw the food and the wine, and then they're like, okay, seriously, can you hurry and get through this thing? But the ice isn't here yet, so that's okay. I can go for a little while. We want it to be cold. No, but I'm really, really excited that you guys are here. Thank you. And really, this will be a little bit of an abridged version, but tonight's really about an opportunity, about recognizing where we are and what's possible, right? So you heard that there's, for us, we sit there and say, we think that this is a relatively significant problem. Like, when we think about the fact that, how many of you have ever heard the phrase, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, right? Now, when we say that, it doesn't bother any of us, right? It's just kind of one of those thrown out sentences where it's like, yeah, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, and we almost accept it as truth, and no one ever gets frustrated. But one of the things we realized is at some point, wouldn't it be nice if someone said, and here's why? Because if we actually knew what they were doing and then we got ourselves to do it, there's a chance that we could make some changes, right or wrong. Right? And that's really what tonight's about the idea of making a change. Now, let me make sure this is perfectly clear because it's the holidays and we're talking about family and community and all of that's incredibly important. And then we're going to come here and we're going to talk about money. And every once in a while, people get confused. They're like, well, all you do is talk about money, 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 money. Well, a couple of things. One, we're in the financial services industry. So is it okay if we talk about money?
Yes.
Okay, so let's just make sure this is okay. Like we're here. Like if we're talking about cookies all the time, that'd be weird, right? We got it right or wrong. And the second thing, the question that I ask is, in your life, when do you think most about money? When you have enough or when you don't? See, every conversation that I've ever had in my life, every person I've ever talked to, when they were stressed and obsessed and focused on money, is when something came up and they weren't sure how they were going to handle it. You see, what we want to do in this room, what we want to do here, is we want to take the obsession of money and put it away. We want to make sure that you and I have enough abundance in our life that financially we can take care of whatever it is that we want to do so our creativity can take over. So we have an opportunity to focus on impact, because if you're not able to take care of your family, it's really hard to worry about somebody else and something else, right or wrong. And that's really what tonight's about. When we talk about a 2 to 3 generation plan, that's the first step. Right? So but now we've got a 13-year-old, 11-year-old, and in about 4 days, we've got 10-month-old twins, right? So when you talk about this 2 to 3 generation plan, here's what that means. That means that if Robin and I save and invest, and we teach it to our children, and they save and invest, and teach it to their children, our grandchildren, the 40-year-old child of our 10-month-old twins have a shot to be wealthy. Now, one, that sounds pretty cool, right? They're gonna have a fireplace. There's gonna be a picture of Rob and I above it. We're gonna be like, and they're gonna be like at Thanksgiving and Christmas and Hanukkah. They're gonna be talking about it. They're gonna be like, because of, right? They're gonna cheers us, and that's gonna be great. But there's a good chance we're gonna be dead. And so one, it'd have been really nice if our grandparents did this, right or wrong. Because if here's for newsflash, if your grandparents would have done this, you wouldn't be in this room right now. You'd be in your house in front of your big ass fireplace cheering them. Y'all are excited about that, right? But that's step one, right? But the second thing is that's a long time from now. And so one, we want to make sure we take care of our family, but what about us? I walked into a room at 22 years old with $24,000 of credit card debt. The only thing I knew about money is I didn't have any. I was frustrated, pissed off, because I did everything I was told to do, and it didn't work. Go to school, get a good job, work hard, save your money, right? Get a job, right? Pay your bills, do the things that you're supposed to do. And it felt like I was always running in quicksand, because the things I was told weren't the things that you saw tonight. And so we said, step one, let's take care of our family. But step two, let's see if we can actually change the game. You see, the way we're going to talk about what about a one-generation plan? How do we do it? What can we do? And that's tonight really is about a generation plan, is about ownership. And so we flesh out this word of entrepreneur. Tonight's not where we can't get into the depth of all this stuff, but it's really about the ability to build something for your family, to start where you stand, to make what you need in your life happen, and the ability to the ability to be in charge of how big you want. See, why are we doing the meeting tonight? The meeting tonight is for everybody in our lives to understand and support what it is we're doing. It's for them to be able to sit back and go, I understand why you're excited. See, there are entrepreneurs in this room that say, man, I'm not where I want to be. Everything isn't going the way I want it to do. And I know that if I sit here and keep doing what I've been doing, it's not going to change. And so we said, man, we want to create a space where we can have this conversation. That's really the power of tonight. Right? And so we said, okay, if we wanted to be able to lock in with entrepreneurs and say, man, we have the ability to build it, what would we need? What are those principles, right? Well, everyone's needs and dreams are different. When I walked into a room, they talked about, what would an extra $500 to $1,000 do? There are people in this room that an extra $500 a month would change everything. And there are people in this room that $500 would be nice. And so there's the gap between those. And it's not any more valuable or less valuable because we're all in that position. Some of us say, what would an extra $2,500 to $5,000 a month do? And what would an extra do? Right? Where is that creativity? Where is that dream again? So often we get caught up in where we are. We have a tendency to limit our thinking. Right? Rob and I love the idea of curiosity. We love the idea of creativity. But it's only possible to be creative when we've got the flexibility to have an open mind, to be able to know that stuff is taken care of. And that's really what we want. It's an opportunity to be curious and to be inspired. And so tonight really is about that possibility, about what does it take. See, this is going to be basically the slide that I'm going to talk about tonight. You see, the opportunity, we are a business incubator designed on purpose to create and sustain high-level entrepreneurs. See, the reality is, we run a financial services distribution company. We take young entrepreneurs and we teach them how to grow, right? And there's no way in a 40-minute conversation we can talk about the impact that we have, the problem that's there, the solution we have, and answer every question. But what we can possibly do is hit an area in our heart that says, what if we didn't have to take on the world alone? What if there was a way to solve this problem? Could that make an impact? Now just think about it. If we recognize the fact that there's 70 million families that make between $25,000 and $250,000 a year, and most of those group of people turn to the banks and insurance companies, do any of us believe the banks and insurance companies have any interest in helping us get wealthy? You sure? We can start all over, right? If you guys aren't, that's not committed. So he said, okay, wait a second. That means who we're supposed to turn to, none of us trust. None of us believe that they're going to solve that problem. That's a pretty significant dilemma, wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Because no one else is showing up to fix it. And so when we stand here and we say, man, this is a problem, It's a problem, but none of us are upset. There's no, right, Rob talked about, there's no march on Washington. Right, the political climate that's going on, people are getting so confused, and right, this country's really good at distracting us with important but crazy ass stuff, so that no one's ever talking about how is it ever going to change for us. They get us focused on all these outside peripheral things versus how are you going to be able to take care of your family? How are you going to be able to put your kids to college? How are you ever going to be able to retire? How are you ever going to be able to pay off your debt? See, the problem is that the median income 15 years ago was $36,000 a year. Today, the median income in California is $37,000 a year. The problem is 15, 20 years ago, gas was $1.80, now it's $4. Lunch was $4, now it's $8. Houses were $300,000, now they're $700,000. How does this happen? How do we survive and maintain the lifestyle that we want if our income doesn't grow and the system's not changing? Now, newsflash, 15 years from now, does anyone think that the median income is going to be $130,000? How many think it's going to be 41? But how many of us think that lunch is going to go from $8 to $13? And gas is going to go from $4 to $7? And houses are going to go from 700,000 to 1.1 million. But our income's not going to change. So we start negotiating. Oh, I guess we can't put our kids to college. That's a luxury. Oh, I guess we can't retire. That's a luxury. Oh, that credit card debt's okay. Oh, that's okay. They start building multi-family homes now where all of a sudden generations are moving in. I'm not saying that's good or bad, but the reason is because now all of a sudden multiple families can provide one mortgage. And we sit here just day by day by day thinking this is all right. You guys all know that if you, I don't know why you do this, and I don't know how they figured this out, but if you take a frog and you put a frog in tepid water, just normal water, on a stove, and you turn up the gas, the frog has the tendency, has the ability inside their own mechanisms, their biology, to readjust their temperature to where the frog will not jump out of the water. It'll literally boil itself to death. Isn't that crazy? Frogs can jump. But they get so used to it that they don't even know that they're dying. Why are we in incubator? Why are we having this conversation? Why are we having this conversation tonight? Because there's a whole bunch of us that aren't where we want to be, and we're stuck, and we don't even know it. And a group of us said, not on our watch, not anymore, not right now. If we could take it, hey, it's one thing if there is no solution, it's another thing if there is one. Look, a financial game plan can revolutionize your life. Not because you can do absolutely everything we did. We had a good conversation with Christina. We sat down and planned. She's like, well, I don't know what I can do. I'm like, the first thing we can do is know what we need to do. Because if you know what you need to do, when opportunities present themselves, you can start to do it. Sometimes it's scary. I sat down and called it, right? Sometimes it's, oh God, I don't know. But you know what? It's always scarier when we don't know. So we said, man, what if we could solve that? What if somebody could teach you? What if a group of people said, right, why don't people start businesses? They don't have the time, they don't have the money, they don't have the talent. They don't have the experience, they don't have the education. We said, man, what if we could take that away? What if somebody could step by step show you exactly how to succeed, how to build a business from scratch? Because the last little thing to this, because my job is to talk about this entrepreneurship, and I just want to make sure we understand what's going on. If you want, look, how many of you think the person sitting directly to your right at some point wanted to own their own business? Not you maybe, but the person sitting directly, it's okay to shake your hand, right? This is all right. How many think at some point the person to your right got so pissed off at their boss, they're like, oh, I hate this person. I'm going to go start my own deal. Right? Now, whether they did it or not, that's a totally different thing, but everybody in the room, yeah, don't raise your hand on this one, right? But no, like everybody in this place, right? So we've got that. So we've got that spirit, right? There's that drive, there's that desire. But why don't we? Look, if you're going to open up a business, if you're going to do anything, primary is not the only answer. Right? I understand that. But someone told me a long time ago, there's the first 4 questions you got to ask if you're going to go into business. And if you can't clear them, there's not only 4, but there's the first 4. And if you can't clear these first 4, you shouldn't go to 5. What's your market? What's your competition? What's the need? And what's the opportunity? Right? If you have an amazing product but no one to buy it, are you going to be successful in business? If you have an amazing product that lots of people buy it, but you're competing with Apple, Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, how many think there's a really good chance no one's going to buy your thing? right? And if you sell umbrellas in Southern California, there's a really good chance you're not going to get rich, right? There's lots of people, but it doesn't rain. And if you don't have the capital, you don't have the money, you can have the greatest idea in the world, but you can't execute. You want to know why you're here? Because we know that gas is going to go from $4 to $6. We know that lunch is going to go from $8 to $12. We know that rent's going to go from $2,000 to $4,000. And we know our incomes aren't going to change. Because there's no need for it. That doesn't sound good. I know. The taxes of this group of people pay for these services, and the discretionary income buys their products. No one wants it to change. And if you've ever gone in and asked for a raise and had your boss look at you and say, if you want to keep complaining, that's what 5K, because there's 7 people that will do your job for less money right now. And the moment that happens, you feel lucky to have less than you need. Well, if someone sat with you, and all of this was true, and someone sat down with you and they said, okay, if there was a business that serviced the market with 70 million people, if you had a product or service designed for that and you could help that group of people, do you think you could be successful if you could solve a problem for 70 million people? So we took care of market. Do you trust the banks, the insurance companies, lenders? No, so if you had a business that helped 70 million families and there was literally no one showing up in that space to help them, do you think you could be successful? If you live, do you need to eat? So money's going to be important, right? If you die, does your family need to eat? So money's going to be important, right? And if you're trying to eat, planning's important, right? So whether you like it or not, the need is vital. So if you had a business where the market was everybody, the competition was none, and the need was vital, could you be successful? Well, what if you had a $3 billion venture capitalist that said, all we want to do is supply the growth, our checks never bounce, and you can build it as big as you want? You think you could be successful? See, the reason you're here tonight is that is what we're about. Everybody in our community needs to understand this because most of us are stuck and we don't know. There's no one coming. Whether they like it or not, they've got a plan. Because Wade and Kristen's daughter is going to be 18. Whether they plan and save for her to go to college or not, they're both bright, they're both focused, they both work hard. This girl's going, now she might get a volleyball scholarship, right? But at the end of the day, she's going to have the opportunities. Are they going to have the resources? It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. So we sat there and said, if we could solve that and we could align ourselves, we could do something. And that's really what tonight was about. It's about an opportunity for you to ask more questions, for you to realize that you don't have to be stuck. And there's a group of us that have felt exactly where you feel in this chair and go, what if? What if I had a plan? What if somebody helped me? What if somebody showed me? What if there was a way and I didn't have to do it alone? Could I make great things happen? So, y'all excited? So one of the things, Roger, if you could come up here for a second and help me. I've got to do a couple of things I'm really excited about. Hold on one quick second. What's that?
I did not play in that cage.
I kind of played. All right. So one of the things that we do, I'm really, really excited. One of the things that we do is we do all sorts of recognition. And a couple weeks ago, the last couple weeks, so we go through. So one of the things is that when somebody, they got to get licensed and go through our process. So we like team, environment, and culture and all that stuff. So I'm really, really excited because you've got to get licensed through the state of California to be able to help families the way we do, and you got to do some pre-licensing stuff and all that stuff. And so it's kind of a pain in the butt, but when you do it, we try to make you feel special and stuff like that. And we're Team Access, right? So we give these little mouse pads, and I'm really, really excited because this man has no idea he's getting this. But he came in a couple weeks ago and saw what we did, and when the lights went on, he's like, oh my God, everyone needs this, and we're going to do something big, man. My son and I are going to build a business. It's going to be unbelievable. It's just absolutely incredibly successful, doctor, incredibly successful in business, incredibly successful. But the idea, when we sat down, he goes, man, the idea of being able to build a business and spend time with my son and build something together, in fact, it doesn't get any better. If I could help the people, doctors that come out that I didn't know that can do this, then we can change their lives. It's so fun to be able to spend time and be in business with people with passion. And so help me recognize for finishing his hours and getting the center pin, the awesome Greg! And one of the things that we do is if I went with thing, we talk about the giveaway up, now and later, right? Because sometimes we've got to do, what's that? I'm throwing it?
Yeah.
Not inviting them up from the store.
No, you can invite.
And then invite them up and hug them and stuff like that. But I'm really excited because since the last meeting, right, we've had a handful of folks. It's one of my favorite stories, and we'll go through it. I'm almost done, but this is one of my favorite stories because when we talk about 70 million families, sometimes it's like, God, how can we make a difference? And there's one story of a grandpa and a granddaughter, and they're walking down the beach, right? And every once in a while, the grandpa reaches down, grabs a starfish, throws it in the water. And granddaughter, every once in a while, they're doing it for them, they're talking. Every once in a while, and then all of a sudden, granddaughter goes, Grandpa, why do you do that? And he goes, see, these starfishes, they're alive. They're alive. But they can't survive outside of water. And so I got to put them back. And she looks, she goes, Grandpa, there's thousands of them. What can you do? And he reaches down and he grabs one and throws back in the water. And he goes, that one, I made all the difference in the world. See, there's some folks that are going to make a huge difference to one family, and there's some folks that want to make a huge difference to thousands of families, and none of them are more valuable than the other. The opportunity is great in this, and so we've got four families that have, in the last week or so, have gone out and made an impact, have changed the family's life, and we want to celebrate that. So this first couple, you've heard that it's his birthday tomorrow, doing a fantastic job, but going out, help the family, set up their protection, their investments, their retirement, college, unbelievable revolutionary change. Help me recognize the awesome David and Anna. This next couple was so fun. We sat down, did a plan, showed them how to get their financial needs in order, change their family, start retirement, emergency, inspections. Unbelievable. The awesome Tony and Wendy. This next lady was so funny. They're going out, right? Doesn't even know what's happening, right? So we went down and sat with them, and this couple's like, no, we're done and take care of it. She's like, you just got to hear this. And it was the passion of being able to share this, right? And then we helped them, and she had to go out of town. And she's like, Fred, is everything taken care of? Everything's taken care of. So excited for the impact that's going on. The awesome Elvira! And then this next lady, so proud of her, who sat down and been following up and kind of going through it. This lady's like, man, I just need help. And it was like unbelievable. Cindy's like, just come, we'll help you. Don't worry about it. We're here. And she's like, really? She's like, yeah, really. And then we sat down, and by the time we were done, Cindy looked at me, she's like, Fred, I told her we could help her, but we could help her. Like sometimes, like, you just follow blind faith, and then you see it, and you're like, oh, I'm so glad I was right. Help me right now. So proud of her, the awesome Cindy. So, guys, one of the things that we're going to do is we really want to build something special. We want to surround ourselves with amazing people that are fighting to be a part of something. There's an opportunity, there's a need, there's a future, there's something here. I'm so proud of everybody in this room. So proud of what we're a part of. We're going to be back. Everyone have an amazing Christmas. We're not going to be here next Wednesday. We'll be here. We have a Saturday training for anyone that's here from 9 to 11. We'll actually get into more detail than we did tonight. And then we'll be back here on the 30th. And the goal is to double. The goal is for everyone in this room to say, look, it's not about you doing the business necessarily, but it's about the opportunity to say, look, is there someone in our life that should hear this? Because without this information, they can't make the change. It doesn't mean everyone's going to make the change just because they hear it, but we give them the opportunity to hear the message. And so, thank you guys so much for coming. In like 40 seconds, we're going to open some beers and open some wine and have some sodas, some weird Whole food soda. I'm hoping we have ice. We got ice, right? So we got this. So really, really excited. Thank you guys so much for coming and have an amazing holiday. Thanks.
I know.
What's that? Perfect. Thank you. Oh, Anna, can you turn that, or Bella, can you turn that light on?